On former President Donald Trump. Trump says he was shot in the right ear at his campaign rally yesterday, shocking all of us across the world, and he has since been released from the hospital. Earlier today, the White House released a photo of the president receiving a briefing with Homeland Security and law enforcement officials there in the Situation Room. We now know the name of the rally attendee who was killed, Corey Comparator, a Pennsylvania firefighter, a father described as a girl dad. He was shot while trying to protect his family. We are not expected to hear from Trump himself today. He is traveling to Milwaukee as planned for the Republican National Convention. This morning, Trump posted on Truth Social, "In this moment, it is more important than ever," he said, "that we stand united and show our true character as Americans, remaining strong and determined and not allowing evil to win." Again, we're waiting for the president. Here he is. He's entering the Roosevelt Room, accompanied by top cabinet officials, including the vice president. Let's listen.
Last night, I spoke with Donald Trump. I'm sincerely grateful that he's doing well and recovering, and we had a short but good conversation. Jill and I are keeping him and his family in our prayers. We also extend our deepest condolences to the family of the victim who was killed. He was a father. He was protecting his family from the bullets that were being fired, and he lost his life. God love him. We're also praying for the full recovery of those who were injured, and we're grateful to the Secret Service agents and other law enforcement agencies and individuals who risked their lives literally for our nation. As I said last night, there is no place in America for this kind of violence, or any violence for that matter. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we stand for as a nation, everything. It's not who we are as a nation. It's not America. And we cannot allow this to happen. Unity is the most elusive goal of all, but nothing is important than that right now, unity. We'll debate and we'll disagree. That's not going to change, but we're going to not lose sight, in fact, who we are as Americans. Look, Vice President Harris and I were just briefed in the Situation Room by my Homeland Security team, including the Director of the FBI, the Secretary of Homeland Security, the Attorney General, the Director of the Secret Service, my Homeland Security Advisor, the National Security Advisor, and we're going to continue to be briefed. The FBI is leading this investigation, which is still in its early stages. We don't yet have any information about the motive of the shooter. We know who he is. I urge everyone, please, don't make assumptions about his motives or his affiliations. Let the FBI do their job and their partner agencies do their job. I'm instructed that this investigation be thorough and swift, and the investigators will have every resource they need to get this done. Look, as this investigation continues, here's what we're going to do. First, Mr. Trump, as a former president and nominee of the Republican Party, already receives a heightened level of security, and I've been consistent in my direction to the Secret Service to provide him with every resource, capability, and protective measure necessary to ensure his continued safety. Second, I've directed the head of the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican National Convention, which is scheduled to start tomorrow. And third, I've directed an independent review of the national security at yesterday's rally to assess exactly what happened. And we'll share the results of that independent review with the American people as well. And finally, I'll be speaking more about this tonight at greater length from the Oval Office. We must unite as one nation. We must unite as one nation to demonstrate who we are. And so may God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, when you spoke to President Trump yesterday, what did he tell you, sir?
Mr. President, shifting our campaign strategy, Mr. President, do you
Okay, we're watching there as President Biden delivering very brief remarks there inside of 4 minutes by my count here, maybe 3 minutes, just kind of updating us on the investigation as it moves forward there in the Roosevelt Room, just steps from the Oval Office. Let's bring in Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes right now. Nancy, what are you learning about his schedule this week? I know there are going to be some changes, obviously, to what has happened. He is now in a whole different role than he was 24 hours ago.
Well, most notably, Maurice, we just learned from the president himself that he plans to give an Oval Office address tonight. That is something that is very rare, usually withheld for the most serious situations in this country. So very notable that he has made that choice to do so tonight. He was planning to head to Texas tomorrow. He was going to be attending an event at the LBJ Library in Austin, where he was scheduled to make remarks on the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act passage. That has been canceled, postponed rather, because he says he's going to do it 10 days from now. So he'll be here at the White House continuing to get briefings from his national security advisors, some of whom you saw there in the room with him for that speech, not only the vice president, but also the attorney general and the Homeland Security Secretary. Maurice?
You don't want to overstate it, but just 24 hours ago, Nancy, the question was, could he function? Was his mental acuity up to the job? And now we're in a whole different phase right now. He has moved on to commander-in-chief and so forth. What are they saying, if anything, about that behind the scenes?
No question that the focus has shifted, and you're not going to find many campaign officials who are disappointed about that. Though, of course, they wish that they were not in the situation they are in now, where you have at least one individual who has passed away, others still fighting for their lives, and a former president and a current candidate who is wounded himself. So, what we're told from the campaign is that they've taken down their ads. They have paused campaigning for now. They had plans to roll out a couple of different things today, like a new Republicans for Trump operation that is obviously Republicans for Biden, rather, operation that has now been put on hold as they try to show their respect in the wake of an assassination attempt.
Okay, Nancy Cordes at the White House, thank you so much. Major Garrett is in Milwaukee, where the Republican National Convention starts tomorrow. Major, everything appears to be moving forward as scheduled. Are we hearing anything from the Trump team tonight, this afternoon?
Yes, we are, Maurice, and everything is going to go as planned. There is one notable addition to the schedule here in Milwaukee that was not anticipated even before yesterday. Nikki Haley, who challenged former President Trump for the longest period of time, won the most number of delegates, will now speak Tuesday evening here in Milwaukee at the Republican National Convention. When the former president put on Truth Social today that the most important thing is to unify, this is a visible expression of that attempt at GOP, meaning Republican Party, unity. Nikki Haley was not going to be here, and she acknowledged that, released her delegates to vote for President Trump if they so chose to last week, but had no intention of being here. There's now been outreach directly to the former ambassador, and she has accepted the invitation. And that is something that is meant by the Trump campaign to explain to all Republicans, those who are here and those nationwide, and those Nikki Haley supporters, that she is part of this endeavor now and will be featured here in Milwaukee. The other thing that's worth noting, Maurice, and this is something that's been clear here in Milwaukee since yesterday afternoon, but the president's saying he's asked the Secret Service to review all security preparations for this convention. That has been anticipated by the host committee here. It has now been formalized by the president. How the Secret Service implements new and tighter security, we don't yet know, but we've all been anticipating that since the assassination attempt in Butler, Pennsylvania yesterday afternoon.
Major, is it possible to extrapolate that Nikki Haley's invitation is a change in tone, or is it too early to say something that much?
I think it's probably too early to say how that will land in terms of tone, but it is clearly meant to say the Republican Party wants to take all those who criticized or ran against former President Trump and who were not going to be here because of that, in all likelihood, they are now welcome. And that this is one party moving in one direction under former President Trump's leadership. That's a notable shift, not only in Nikki Haley's visibility, but that message about unity not just being something that you can read on social media, but seeing it expressed with this particular invitation. As to the tone of speeches here, I'm told they're all being redrafted in light of the events in Pennsylvania yesterday. Exactly how, we don't know, but there are plenty of members of the Republican House of Representatives who have said some pretty aggressive things in the aftermath of the assassination attempt, trying to at least rhetorically lay this at the feet of the former president or his Democratic allies. We'll see if that takes place on the podium stages here in Milwaukee as the convention opens tomorrow night.
Yes, indeed. Words do matter. Major Garrett in Milwaukee for us. Thank you. The investigation into the shooter is still underway. 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, just an hour away from the shooting site. Let's bring in CBS News reporter Nicole Skanka. Still the questions being, why did he do it? How did he get there? How did he get so close? What was his motive? What happened?
And it was interesting to hear there, Maurice, the president saying, don't jump to conclusions. We still have no known motive, but the FBI is leading an investigation he hopes will be thorough and swift. Here's what we do know. The suspect was carrying an AR-style assault rifle on him. ATF and FBI traced that weapon back, found that it was legally purchased by the suspect's father. In addition to that, law enforcement finding materials described as incendiary or explosive in his vehicle and some sort of mechanism on his person that is thought to trigger those materials. This investigation still underway. I'll also point out the president there saying that he has also directed the Secret Service director, in addition to reviewing all of the security protocol around the RNC, to ensure that every resource is made available to continue to bolster the former president's detail, and that an independent review will be conducted and made public about just went down on that day. There have been some concerns from lawmakers, perhaps, that Secret Service was not given the resources it needed. We are told that former President Trump's detail grew back in June. He was given additional counter sniper teams. Certainly now, despite the tragedy of yesterday, some relief that there were 4 teams at that event.
Given extra resources as requested, we should point out, right?
Absolutely. Requested by Secret Service officials, and as part of the former president developing a more busy campaign schedule, the decision was made back in June for more resources on the ground.
And still unclear as whether the suspect had any accomplices at this point. We don't know.
Investigators still looking into that. They have not found anything yet, but they continue to caution. It is early, and this investigation, it is active.
And as the president said, don't jump to conclusions. Nicole, thank you for your reporting and insight. Our coverage will continue on CBS News 24/7, your local news, and tonight on a special edition of the CBS Evening News with Nora O'Donnell from Milwaukee. This has been a CBS News Special Report. I'm Maurice Dubois.
Hello, everyone. I'm Lana Zach. We've just been watching a CBS News special report, and we heard President Biden addressing the assassination attempt on former President Donald Trump. The commander-in-chief said he and the vice president have been briefed on the situation. Biden said he spoke with former President Donald Trump and that he is sincerely grateful that he is doing well and recovering. And he also sent his deepest condolences to the family of the man who died, Corey Campetor, as well as praying for the 2 victims who remain in critical condition at the hospital there in Pennsylvania. The president announced that he would address the nation later tonight from the Oval Office on the subject of unity. He said it is the most elusive goal, and while we continue to debate, quote, we're not going to lose sight of who we are as Americans. CBS News correspondent Charlie DeMar is in Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, outside of the suspect's home in that neighborhood. Charlie, we're now at this moment learning that the suspect was rejected from the high school rifle team. And one of the people who knew him as a child, who was a former member of the varsity rifle team, said, quote, he was a nice kid who never talked poorly of anyone, and I have never thought him capable of anything I've seen him do in the last few days. What more can you tell us about how people there are reacting to who the shooter turned out to be?
We are getting mixed reactions on who this shooter was. On one hand, the account that you just shared is one. Another one that another classmate that I spoke to said he wasn't the closest of friends with him, but described Thomas Crooks as a loner, that he would sit alone at lunch. They didn't have many friends, and said that he was frequently bullied. That was made abundantly clear. But everyone who we have talked to said that they did not think that he was ever capable of carrying out what happened yesterday.
All right, Charlie DeMar for us there outside of the suspect's home. Thank you. Chief Washington correspondent Major Garrett joins us now from Milwaukee. That's obviously the site of the RNC that's going to launch in just a couple of hours. So, Major, how will this weekend's assassination attempt impact both former President Trump's appearance tomorrow, but also the mood of the RNC?
Sure. In so many ways. We just saw a Truth Social post from the former president saying something that would be a surprise to convention organizers here in Milwaukee, that he was going to delay his arrival by 2 days. That was never the understanding here. Everyone expected former president to be here tonight in preparation for being here in Milwaukee for all 4 days of this convention. Former President Trump has said that's exactly what he was going to do, utterly consistent with the expectations of all the Republicans I've talked to in Milwaukee. And there is a great expectation that the former president will, in some manner or fashion, appear on the podium tomorrow night to open this convention. When, how, we don't know, but everyone I've talked to here in Milwaukee expects that to be, if it happens, an electrifying event, because the mood here in Milwaukee is, if possible, more resilient, more intense, more devoted to former President Trump than it was a day ago. And it was already resilient, resourceful, committed, devoted to former President Trump. That's all multiplied. We don't know how the rhetoric is going to land here in terms of the speeches given by those, but I'm told by those organizing and scheduling all those speeches, they're all being redrafted to take note of what happened, the assassination attempt on former President Trump. Is that rhetoric going to be arch and harsh and condemning of Democrats, or just strong in the sense that former President Trump withstood something and will withstand more in the coming campaign? Stay tuned for that. And President Biden, his remarks at the White House, just said that there will be a review of the security apparatus here. We expect it to be enlarged and intensified. That is probably going to take place this afternoon and this evening in preparations for the opening of the convention tomorrow.
I appreciate especially your point about this being an opportunity for the former president to potentially transcend what usually during political conventions is party-specific rhetoric, to sort of look to the greater value of the country, that theme of unity that we hear the current president talking about. I remember, and I was there in the audience during the 2016 campaign when candidate Trump made a surprise early appearance, and how it absolutely electrified the convention at that time. Do we know anything more about both the announcement of Vice President, which he had said that he was going to reveal potentially in this week, as well as whether they're looking at other ways to try and make sure that this is an opportunity to demonstrate differences between him and his political rival, which he's certainly tried to do up until this point?
Well, the timing of the vice presidential pick is very important. It has to be done this week. The convention has to ratify and nominate both former President Trump as the Republican Party presidential nominee and his running mate. So we expect that announcement maybe tomorrow or Tuesday, certainly no later than Tuesday. I can also tell you that in the expression of internal Republican Party unity, the president's campaign, the former president's campaign, has invited Nikki Haley, one of the most aggressive opponents that former President Trump vanquished in the Republican primary. That is to say, Nikki Haley accumulated the highest number of delegates, 99, not formidable, but still the largest number of any of the Republican challengers, was not going to be here in Milwaukee, has now been invited to give a speech and appear. That will happen Tuesday. That's part of the former president's post-assassination attempt effort to tell all Republicans that we are, as a party, going to unify. Nikki Haley was not going to be here. And that was by the wishes of the Trump campaign, the Republican National Committee. That's all been revisited. Nikki Haley's appearance here will also try to add symbolically and figuratively and visually to this idea that the Republican Party is completely unified in the 2024 campaign.
All right, Major Garrett for us in Milwaukee. Thank you, Major. I want to bring in now Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes. Nancy, you've been following all of this for us. Let's start off first with what we heard the president announcing, that he's going to make sure that Secret Service has every resource necessary to protect the former president, that they are going to review the security measures for the RNC, but that there will also be an independent review of the security at the rally that will be shared publicly. Talk to us about what you're hearing from your White House sources.
That was really notable, that last point, Lana, that no matter what that independent review shows, whether it is positive or negative for the Secret Service, that the White House plans to release those findings publicly. Beyond that, the president once again tried to strike a note of unity. He said that unity is the most important thing, very difficult to achieve. He said we will continue to debate over policy or politics, but we need to be unified as a country. Beyond that, he said there's no place in America for violence. An assassination attempt is contrary to everything we are. Very interesting that he is now planning to deliver an Oval Office address. Those are quite rare, usually reserved for really important events in American life, and this would certainly qualify. So we will be speaking to the White House to try to get more details about what exactly is on his agenda to address in that speech, how long it will be, and why they felt that this was an important time. Even though he spoke last night and just a few moments ago here at the White House, he feels that this is so important that he wants to give a more formal address from the Oval Office.
And Nancy, we appreciate you bringing us all of those updates. You also reported that President Biden is postponing his trip to Texas tomorrow. What more can you tell us about how his schedule is changing, particularly for this week?
Right. So obviously, this is a very sensitive situation. The Biden team doesn't want to do anything that would appear to, resemble overt campaigning, even though the trip that he was scheduled to make tomorrow was not really a campaign event. He was making a trip as part of his official duties. He was going to the LBJ Presidential Library in Austin, Texas, to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the Civil Rights Act. He was going to give a speech there. He was going to do a sit-down interview there, but the White House has canceled that visit, at least for now. They're hoping to reschedule it for 10 days from now because the president is still being briefed by his national security team. We got a photo of him in the Situation Room a couple of hours ago, meeting with his top advisors, and we assume that that's going to continue tomorrow. He said, in fact, in his brief remarks a short time ago, that he still doesn't have any information about the motive of this shooter. He said, don't make any assumptions about this individual's motives or affiliations. The FBI is investigating all of that, he said, and he is pushing for a swift investigation. He said the FBI will have all the resources it needs to do so.
Really important to try and bring down the temperature in this environment. Nancy Cordes, thank you.
You're welcome.
And CBS News Homeland Security and Justice reporter Nicole Skanga is here with me in Studio 57. We have been talking basically since this happened about the latest details. What are you learning right now from your sources?
Right now, law enforcement sources tell CBS News that ATF and FBI have traced the firearm on the suspect here. We previously reported an AR-style weapon used by the gunman here, but now law enforcement sources tell CBS News that that firearm was traced to the suspect's father, that it was legally purchased. Also learning more about what else was in the vicinity of the gunman as police continue to investigate his neighborhood there in Bethel Park, about an hour outside where the rally was held, as well as his vehicle. And law enforcement sources tell CBS News that there were explosive or incendiary type materials found within the suspect's car, as well as on his person. Some sort of device that is thought to have potentially triggered those materials. And so a very early, very active investigation that is being led by the FBI right now, but certainly that is one of the open questions. We also know, and my colleague Charlie DeMar on the scene there in Pennsylvania, reporting that the bomb squad has also visited the suspect's home. So searches of the suspect's residence as well. In terms of the online footprint, many have noted that it is peculiar that the suspect did not have a larger footprint here. But we do know that he did have a Discord account that is a popular streaming and gaming account, and the company did confirm that.
Really appreciate you bringing us up to date with all of these latest developments as we are hearing them. I want to thank you, Nicole Skanga. We also want to thank Charlie, Major, and Nancy, all for joining us and bringing us the very latest information. Our coverage on the assassination attempt against the former president continues after the break. I'm Lana Zach. Stay with us. You're streaming CBS News 24/7.
Coming up, our series. Wait a minute. Tom, is that you working the camera?
Keep leaning out of your close-up.
Your morning routine just got better. CBS Mornings, weekdays at